Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans, Droids, Chaotic Mundi, Conets. You guys know at this point that my opinion of this anniversary update, from at least a gameplay fun perspective, I know crazy, has been, let's put it lightly today, less than stellar. However, I want to make sure we give a little bit of sunshine on the best thing that has come out of this update that we're able to pretty much finally realize in the full fruition as of this week. I'm talking about everybody getting a free Gear 13, Phoenix Crew, Palpatine, and even a wild card Lightspeed token to take almost any rebel you want to Gear 13. Pretty insane. Now listen, we've moved, I think, farther and farther away from this actually being a game, but let's just put it this way. If you're just looking to casually collect characters from Star Wars and you don't care about being competitive, you don't care about having fun stuff to play, well, now's the better time more than ever because they have made it so easy to blitz through a lot of the core teams that you need for Star Wars Galaxy series. And this is the best part about the anniversary update. We're going to talk about how to get all these Lightspeed tokens that we have available so far. Let's collect my Emperor Palpatine one. How I tackled some of these. They're not difficult challenges by any stretch of the imagination. It's just more kind of finding the right spots so that we have an easy time knocking out these feats. And I'll give my suggestion as we get to the Rebel Lightspeed token that you can use on any Rebel, what I'm planning on doing on my free-to-play account, and some suggestions from the King of Triple E Gods, get the mobile game 8th day of creation, and maybe what I would suggest to some of you guys out there. So, before we get too carried away, if you're like, whoa, Arnold, what are you talking about? Free Gear 13 characters? What is going on? I made a video on this quite a few weeks ago. Let me pull it up real quick. I highly, highly recommend you watch this video before you kind of get too carried away with this one, because I talk about in this video how over the next couple months, we are going to be getting so many free Lightspeed tokens. We're essentially, in the next couple months, you can get, for example, Grand Inquisitor for free. Make a lot of progress towards Bo-Katan, and I'll leave again the graphic down below that I shared in that video. This essentially highlights the dates and what you get. And we, as of this week, just completed all of the Phoenix stuff that you see above, getting the Emperor Palpatine Lightspeed token too. And starting next week or so, we're going to start getting feats for all the Jedi leading up to Grandmaster Yoda. So I don't want to go too much into this because I've already talked about it before. Again, watch that other video, but I want to make sure you see this. And if you're like, all right, cool, we're getting Lightspeed tokens, how do we get them? Well, you're going to want to go into your Journey Quest. There's a new thing added with this update, so you click on Quest, you go to Journey Quest, and there will be a variety of challenges that you need to knock out. Now, I've already done these on my free-to-play account because I could really use these Lightspeed tokens, especially for my Phoenix Crew. And what I want to talk about, actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and just apply these Lightspeed tokens. Look at that, Ezra Bridger. We're going to go ahead and upgrade him. Look at that. This, again, I miss the game actually being fun to play like it used to be, and I actually have an old text I'm going to be bringing out for you guys. But man, this feels good. I've been wanting to get around to Ezra Bridger, but as you guys know, this game is about resource management before almost anything else, and you need to be able to allocate them well. I can't just upgrade everything. I'm not going to get anywhere. Sabine, I've always wanted to upgrade her. Never had the chance. Boom, look at that. From level 46, whatever gear tier that was, Gear 13, and it includes Zetas. Holy moly. Give me an order of my mama's master, Charlie. Let's go take Chopper up and running here. Look at that, boom. Chopper ready to go at Gear 13. Fantastic. And I already have, for example, Old Man Rex mostly up and running, but I don't have the other Zeta on him. All right, I'll take the other Zeta. That's a free Zeta right there. But this one is incredibly amazing. Again, I went over this in that previous video I talked about because this makes a lot of progress towards Galactic Legend Leia, for example. And let's see. Now, I already have Hera as well as Palpatine up and running. So for those that don't know, if you already have a character upgraded that the Lightspeed token would have done otherwise, it gets scrapped. And look, that's extra Kyrotech, extra Gear 12 pieces that, you know what, I wouldn't have had otherwise. So this is my favorite part about this update, and we'll go over my recommendations and what I'll likely do with this Rebel Lightspeed token. Man, that feels good. But just really quickly, in case you don't know where to maybe go for some key locations to make this as easy as possible, I recorded myself doing all of these Journey Quest stuff, so feel free to skip ahead if you already done it, or maybe you only need to go for a few keywords. Again, there'll be timestamps down below. But here we go. So this is my free-to-play account. As you can see, just starting it off, need to get the Harrison Dula one, need to inflict vulnerable 100 times. And what I highly suggest, especially if you're newer to the game, or even, let's be real, even myself, sometimes like, who else has XYZ debuff or buff? I will, for example, unfortunately, the game does not have it itself. I wish it did, a filtering system. Recommend going to SWGOH.gg, and for example, if you click on filters, you go to either categories or ability classes for random buffs and debuffs. You can kind of filter by all the characters that have something specific. Like, for example, I needed to look for characters that are vulnerable, and your roster is going to vary. You might not have all these characters, you might have some, and here it lists all the characters that have vulnerable. Now, of course, you have to click on their kit and figure out what ability. Like, for example, I used Forlom. I got him for free in my free-to-play account, as well as many others. If you pair him up with Jedi Knight Luke stuns, also applies vulnerable. Then use Relative Mercy when he targets an enemy that was stunned. You inflict vulnerable on all the other enemies out there. So it's kind of double dipping on what Jedi Knight Luke would do, essentially. So let's go ahead and show you what that looks like really quickly. And then there's a few things I would recommend kind of tying together at the same time as we especially get to the Ezra Bridger one, as well as, what was it, Sabine? Well, again, I'll show you here in a moment. But here we go. We're going to hop on into battle, and this is essentially the team I put together. Jedi Knight Luke with Forlom and what's it called, CX2, as well as Bo-Katan. Those characters all have it. Thrawn does not have vulnerable. I just had him in there to keep passing turns around, and boom, after a few battles is able to knock that out, and there we go. Ended up getting the Harrison Dula Lightspeed token. So again, it's more just kind of having patience, finding the right node. Now for damage over time, I did not record the video because it was so quick. I thought I had a bit more time, but all I did for the damage over time one, again, a lot of characters that had damage over time, Vader or Darth, actually both Vaders have it essentially, Darth Sidious. All I did in my free-to-play account, knocked it out in one battle. Conquest, if it's active while you're doing this, is gonna be your best friend to knock out a lot of this stuff. All I did is I went to like sector 1. You can go to any sector for that matter. There's actually a damage over time feat in one of these sectors. And all I would do, I would kind of scroll through, look for either an Imperial Trooper team, any team with a lot of turn meters. So I had Karth, for example, and I brought in my garbage Tuskens, bringing out the Tusken Chieftain lead, and I was able to knock this out in one battle. So there we go. As you can see, my Tusken Chieftain, not all that special. I did throw the Zeta on him. I'm able to knock out any damage over time feat pretty much instantly. So super easy, but again, there's a bunch of other characters out there that you can use, like Darth Vader, Darth Sidious, for example. So again, not all that complicated, more just kind of making it as efficient as possible. Once you knock out damage over time, you get Ezra Bridger. Now, this is where you kind of want to be a little bit efficient. What I recommend doing is knocking out the Harrison Dula one with defeating 50 Imperial Troopers, and then we'll tackle the Pirate one for Ezra Bridger. So what I would recommend, again, there's a lot of ways to go to Imperial Troopers. There's Imperial Troopers in Conquest, for example. But I think in terms of the most accessible thing, especially now that you're building up all of your Lightspeed tokens, go into the Grand Admiral Thrawn event, and you will knock out about 11 Imperial Troopers per attempt. No energy required. You can do it as many times as you want. Throw it on auto, and you'll have a lot of your Phoenix characters just carry you. So not all that bad. Pretty easy to knock out. Once you get that, then you'll get the quest for Sabine Wren, where you need to defeat 100 enemies with rebels. And this is when I would suggest doing this alongside Ezra Bridger defeating pirates. Now, what I would highly recommend doing for this one, because you need to find a specific pirate node for Ezra Bridger, on light side 6E normal. You'll have a bunch of pirates in there, and here, bring in Ezra, have him just piggyback, and then have a team filled with rebels, whatever might be the Phoenix crew that you're getting together for free, or I just threw in my Galactic Legend Leia, and you're gonna do this repeatedly, and after every single run of this particular node, you will be getting about 10 pirates knocked out. So you do that 5 times, bada bing, bada boom, you're closer to having all the Phoenix in the room at that point. So again, these quests are meant to be very easy for people to do, right? You don't need to put too much brain power into this, but it's just, again, more just finding those specific nodes, like where the heck do I find pirates? Boom, and there you go. I was able to knock out both of them at the same time, give or take. And then once you claim both of these Lightspeed tokens, then you're gonna be unlocking the next set of challenges. At this point, man, we've already knocked out a lot of these Phoenix shenanigans, all these Lightspeed tokens doing work. And then what's gonna happen is once you claim it, you get Chopper, defeat 100 enemies with Scoundrels. Very straightforward. You just do it wherever. All I did essentially is I went on my Kyrotech node on 7B, and I just farmed the Kyrotech like my normal daily energy, knocked it out with the full Scoundrels, and then you got to win 20 battles with the full squad of rebels. Again, Not too hard to do. Just do what I was essentially doing. Instead of simming my daily stuff, I would just, well, do it manually a couple times and boom. Again, farm my Karatech, use a full squad of rebels. You get Captain Rex, and then this is where I'm pulling out some Old Testament stuff in Galaxy Heroes. And actually, this is a great time for some context. If you ever wonder why I feel like the older days of Galaxy Heroes were better, of course, there are some things that are better from a modern perspective, you know, in terms of efficiency, 4x and stuff like that. But I'm going to show you, there's a lot of ways of getting shocked. I did some Old Testament stuff in Galaxy Heroes during the golden days where I went inside a Conquest Sector 3 on the final boss there. You have this, which I believe this was Phase 3 of the AAT raid. And back in the old days of Galaxy Heroes, we had something called the Chirpatine lineup, where you use Chief Chirpa with Palpatine and just pile on the shocks and let Emperor Palpatine just keep doing basics. And he'd essentially have close to like a turn meter loop here. And this is why I think the old days of Galaxy Heroes, that's what, like, we had the most game theory crafting possible. Look at this. Who would have thought that 2 Ewoks with Stormtrooper Han, Palpatine, and Royal Guard would make a gnarly combo? This is why I sing to the rooftops. I feel bad for people that did not play the game back then, because this is when the game was actually creative, right? It didn't come down to how big's your roster, how much have you spent. I remember sitting in a room way back when. This is a long story here, but let's keep it short. When I met up with some other Galaxy Heroes people at like EA Play many years ago, you had people that would spend tens of thousands, people that spent nothing, and they could relate and talk about all these cool combos and strategies. Nowadays, the game's a bit different, where they tell us what we can do, how we can do it, how often, you know, what lineups we can use, what's the max score we can get. So I hope that adds a little bit of context, and I'm not negative just for no reason. The game was a lot more fun back then, in my opinion. And here I kind of, just for old time's sakes, did the same thing, threw on a bunch of shocks, and then had Palpatine just do a bunch of auto basics. And eventually, I would knock out quite a big chunk. I think that was about, what, 30-ish plus shocks. Probably could have got more, but my Palpatine margin are a little too strong. And then, after all that is said and done, then you're able to get the Rebel Lightspeed token, as I showed. And then, ultimately, you get the Emperor Palpatine Lightspeed token. So, with that said, that's how you generally get it done. We're going to get the next set of quests, and it'll be their own little thing that we'll have to do. It's sort of like an extension of Conquest, just throughout the holotable. So instead of just doing it in Conquest, you can do it anywhere, right? So again, massive fan of these Lightspeed tokens. The Phoenix ones, you have no choice but to apply it on them, but you do get that one wild card of this Rebel Lightspeed token. Now, this is gonna vary roster to roster, but there are some overall things I would highly suggest. First and foremost, remember, we have more quests coming in the future, and some of those are gonna be Rebels. Like, for example, around February 10th, we're gonna start getting all of these Akbar and other old school Rebel Lightspeed tokens. So I would say don't use your wild card Lightspeed token for Rebels on, well, the Akbar and Farm Boy Lukes and all that. Save that for a character that's not included here, and maybe something that's gonna help you Lightspeed into some of those other core farms. Like, for example, if we take a look at the Rebel roster, keep in mind you can't apply this to Legendaries, although we are gonna be getting a Commander Luke Skywalker Lightspeed token in the future. There are just, you can't apply the Conquest, Legendaries, you know, territory battle characters. So those are the general rules of Lightspeed tokens if you've not used them before. But when you go into the Rebel faction, I would say first and foremost, if you have not made any progress towards Galactic Legend Leia, or you're working towards it, now is a fantastic time to take advantage of these Lightspeed tokens. Throw it on Drogon, for example. You already got Captain Rex knocked out, boom. Throw it on Drogon. That is a lot of Karatech saving. And that's one thing I would suggest, because everyone's roster is going to be a little bit different. Try to apply the Lightspeed token on a big farm, whether it's a Galactic Legend. Even Master Luke's got some Rebels, for example. That would be great with this token here. But keep in mind, you want to use it on characters that have a lot of Kyrotech. Like, with that Lightspeed token, I could apply it to, let's say, I don't know, Scarab Rebel Pathfinder, but he doesn't have a lot of Kyrotech on him. So, essentially what I'm going to do, since I already have my Leia, I got most of the core Rebels that are needed for all the big farms. I'm not going to apply right now because I have plenty of time to apply. It expires come June 2026, as it says there in the bottom left-hand corner. What I'm eyeing are two characters. One, I'm eyeing Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum because she's needed for Galactic Legend Ahsoka. However, not a very Kyrotech heavy character. So I am considering Saw Gerrera. I want to get my Cal Kestis, but again, it's been a function of, well, Kyrotech. I need to put that Kyrotech into more important farms out there. I love Jedi Cal, but there are more important things. Well, this is going to bypass a lot of Kyrotech that Saw Gerrera has. Taking him straight to Gear 13 would be a lot of fun. And on top of that, it's going to pair well with my Luthen that I have. So this is likely going to be the one that I choose. I do not recommend taking your Rebel Lightspeed token, and if you already have, for example, Jin at Relic 5, it's just going to throw the Zeta on. I'd rather put that on a character that has like no gear, no Kyrotech invested, because you want to get the most bang per buck with this free Lightspeed token. So again, it's going to vary character to character, but again, kind of if I could summarize it, number one, make sure it does not essentially double dip into what we're already getting down the road with all these other Lightspeed tokens. Number two, if you haven't done a big farm like Leia or maybe Master Luke, use that Rebel, or even Ahsoka Tano because she requires some Rebels, throw that Lightspeed token on them. And if after all that, you know, look for characters that have a lot of Kyrotech required of them. So characters basically post 2018-19, whenever Kyrotech first started coming to the game, go ahead and apply to that. So that's kind of my general rule of thumb that I would suggest. But hey, you guys let me know, what are you planning on using your Rebel Lightspeed token on? Excited for the next ones that we're getting. And remember, as we talked about in this video, there are a lot of great combos with these Lightspeed tokens. Besides getting what they explicitly list, it's what's implicit between the lines. Getting pretty much Grand Inquisitor for free come end of, what is that? End of January. Pretty excited to see stuff like that and making some good progress towards Bo-Katan Mandalore. People, thank you so much for stopping by. A lot of good stuff with this. Again, hopefully it's understandable that, you know, I could like some things, hate some things. Unfortunately, the things that make the game fun, in my opinion, well, we've moved quite a bit away from the magic of Galaxy Heroes now more than ever with this recent Coliseum update and Relic Delta and all that jazz. But at the very minimum, boy, I would have loved to have Lightspeed tokens back when I was playing the game during these old days. So that's going to wrap it up for today, my friends. Thank you so much for stopping by. And as always, until we meet again, always remember that it's great to be in the Empire today.
Oh, it's great to be in the Empire today. The sun never sets.